Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Mystery drones? Is it an alien invasion? Is it the Russians? What the heck is it? Should you hate your country? Does your country hate you? Venezuela? Artificial intelligence? AI energy? Transhumanism? The G7? All of that, and Remembrance Day and Veterans Day coming up on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let's begin tonight's broadcast with a look at first Remembrance Day ceremonies in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. This is what it looked like today. President Trump was in Arlington for Veterans Day wreath flaring ceremony.
Praise God! Hard! Order!
Shoulder!
Hard!
I'll be right back.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Before we get started with today's top news stories, I just wanted to say thank you to ProImmune and to Cindy0904 for becoming monthly supporters over on Rumble. Thank you so much. I did note that the other night, thanks to Linda, who alerted me to that, and I just wanted to acknowledge it here. So thank you for that. And on we go to today's top stories. First of all, another crack showing in NATO unity as the UK, as the United Kingdom, is now withholding some intelligence from the United States because of these strikes on alleged narco-terrorist drug boats off the coast of Venezuela. This emerged today as what CNN is saying is an exclusive story, but now being redistributed and re-reported by many major news outlets. And here's what they have to say. Oh, hang on a second. Here we go.
The Situation Room. The United Kingdom is suspending some intelligence sharing with the United States because of the Trump administration's strikes against alleged drug boats in the Caribbean.
CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand joins us with her exclusive reporting. So this is so significant, Natasha, because the UK is arguably the closest ally to the United States when it comes to intelligence sharing. And now on this issue, at least, it's pulling back, right?
That's exactly right, Pam. So previously, the UK had been a very important intelligence sharing partner for the US in the Caribbean, because, of course, the UK has a number of territories in the Caribbean. They have an interest in helping to stop the flow of drugs to the United States and to elsewhere in the Caribbean. And so they would often share intelligence, given the intelligence assets that they have down there, with the US to help the US Coast Guard interdict and arrest drug smugglers and also to seize all of the narcotics on board. But that changed when the U.S. military started actually blowing up these boats, using lethal force against these vessels. The UK was deeply uncomfortable with that, felt that it violated international law. And for that reason, it suspended that intelligence sharing with the U.S. Just over a month ago, we're told, because it did not want its intelligence and its information being used by the U.S. military to carry out these kinds of lethal attacks. Now, this comes amid a lot of skepticism, right? I mean, broadly from legal experts, as well as now we're seeing from the international community about the legality of this U.S. military campaign in the Caribbean. We have reported previously that the U.S. Southern Command commander offered to resign last month because he had been raising questions about the legality of these strikes, and he is set to retire early next month, just 1 year into his tenure as the Southern Command chief. And so there have been a lot of questions here about whether the U.S. military campaign is legal. And now we are actually seeing that play out in practice, with the UK saying, we don't believe that these strikes are in keeping with international law. We believe that they're illegal, and we don't want to be complicit in them. That is really the key here. They don't want their information being used to target individuals on vessels that are then going to be killed, who are, in the UK's mind, civilians. Of course, the US has argued that they are enemy combatants, and they don't want that to be on their hands. And so now we are seeing the suspension of intelligence sharing. Unclear how long that's actually going to last, but there's a lot of ambivalence here about the U.S. military's operations, both in the Caribbean and increasingly in the Eastern Pacific.
Okay, and we've seen most of the pushback on this coming from Rand Paul, But he isn't the only one. And we also now have Ron Paul, one-time presidential contender, hopeful, and a pretty level-headed guy most of the time. I believe this is the clip here. He's saying the Republicans need to stand up to Trump on this issue.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the weekly report. Congressional Republicans must stand up to the president on Venezuela. I recall when then President Barack Obama was planning to send troops to enforce his Assad must go policy in Syria. Many Republican U.S. senators passionately argued that the U.S. president must come to Congress for approval before sending U.S. troops into combat overseas. At the time, they portrayed themselves as brave defenders of the U.S. Constitution. Last week, when the Senate held a vote to remind President Trump that he is required to seek approval from the legislative branch before launching an attack on Venezuela, only 2 Republican senators stood up to defend the Constitution. Why? Perhaps because a Republican president was now in office. According to Politico, war enthusiast Senator Lindsey Graham went so far as to say that Congress can't substitute our judgment for the president's when it comes to the decision to attack Venezuela. The senator needs a refresher course in high school civics. The U.S. Constitution requires Congress, as the branch most directly accountable to the people, to substitute its judgment for the president's when it comes to war making. We fought a war against George III, negate the ability of a king to take the people to war on his whim. Now, Congress scrambles to abrogate that hard-fought achievement in the name of political expediency. While the D.C. foreign policy blob, made up of both parties, is always pro-war, with each election we get a charade that one party or the other is standing up for the Constitution by challenging a president of the other party on war powers. Why not stand up for the Constitution regardless of who the president may be? The truth is, these days, most members of the House and Senate hold their heads down, follow their leadership, and enjoy that 97% incumbency re-election rate. After all, making waves by standing up for the Constitution can cost you your seat. You might even find yourself in a position where a president from your own party raises millions of dollars to try and get you ousted. In an excellent recent essay in the American Conservative, George O'Neill Jr. recounts the current round of pro-war lies being bandied about to gin up support for a war on Venezuela. There are narco-terrorists threatening the U.S. Hezbollah is training in the Venezuela jungles. Maduro is in league with Hamas. We've heard it all before: the sinking of the USS Maine, the domino theory, babies ripped from Kuwaiti incubators by Saddam's stormtroopers, Assad's gas attacks, and so on. All lies, and as O'Neill writes, the interventions they spawned have all turned out to be devastating, expensive failures. We've gone from $6 trillion in debt at the beginning of the war on terror to $38 trillion today. The global U.S. military empire cannot continue if we want to keep our country.
Ron Paul. I will. Well, you know what? Let's go back. We'll continue with him for just a moment.
Benjamin Franklin famously said, "A republic if you can keep it." When asked what kind of government the framers of our Constitution had created. But the republic cannot be held together by magic or good luck. If you can keep it means representation by men and women of good moral character who put the interest of their constituents and their country before their political party or the president. And it requires a population willing to stand up to propaganda and politics to elect such good people and hold them to accounts. Thanks for listening.
And the escalation continues off the coast of Venezuela and all through Latin America as the United States moves an aircraft carrier. The Gerald Ford strike group has moved into the region. Confirmed today, the president ordering the deployment of the Ford last month, as we reported here on Maverick News, and adding to 8 warships, a nuclear submarine, and F-35 aircraft already in the region. The Ford was commissioned in 2017. It is the United States' newest aircraft carrier, the world's largest, with more than 5,000 sailors aboard. Now, we've seen this saber rattling going on. Of course, Venezuela. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, very concerned, convinced that this is the United States preparing for some sort of land invasion. All the warning signs are there. But will Trump taco out? Time will tell. Is this just some part of a larger strategy to effect regime change in a very unusual move? Of course, we heard Donald Trump say just about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that the United States actually has covert CIA operations ongoing inside Venezuela, even as we speak. Talk about foreign interference in the affairs of another country. He just came out and said it. And I don't know how you keep things covert or under wraps or undercover if you state it publicly. So now it's a very public, undercover, covert operation, I guess. Also very public today, Anita Anand, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, hosting a foreign ministers meeting for G7 countries in Niagara, Ontario today. And with that, she's meeting with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State for the United States. Heading into this, she said there had been no indication that Mr. Rubio had been echoing Donald Trump's 51st state rhetoric at all. Not clear at this point how far any of that may have gone, but I guess we'll find out more when we get this clip from her at this news conference coming up here next in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here in Niagara. And I'd like to thank the Niagara region and its people for the very warm welcome today. And before we start the day, I would like to acknowledge that we gather here on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, this area is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Le G7 est un groupe de partenaires particulièrement influents.
So she was today calling for multilateralism, a multilateral approach to foreign affairs, which supports the standard international rules-based order, which Trump is pivoting away from. And we'll illustrate that pivot and the effect that's having on the U.S. right after we get through
du
with Anita
G7.
Anand's
Je
address
suis
here in
fière
news conference.
d'être ici, aux côtés de mes homologues, pour donner le coup d'envoi à la dernière réunion des ministres des Affaires étrangères du G7 de cette année. Cette réunion est particulièrement importante car nos homologues de l'Afrique du Sud, de l'Arabie saoudite, du Brésil, de l'Inde, du Mexique, de la République de Corée et de l'Ukraine se joindront à nous. La contribution de ces partenaires
So we have foreign ministers from other G7 states, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, United States, of course, European Union, all there to take part in a working dinner on global peace and stability.
The next 24 hours will be absolutely jam-packed. Tonight, we will hold a G7 foreign ministers working dinner with global peace and stability at the top of our agenda. In particular, we will have a constructive exchange on critical priorities, including advancing long-term peace and stability in the Middle East, supporting security and building prosperity in the Indo-Pacific, and responding to urgent crises in Haiti and Sudan. Tomorrow, we will start the day with a discussion with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiha to reaffirm our collective support for Ukraine in the face of Russia's aggression. We will then be joined by all of our partners for discussions on critical minerals, energy security, and economic resilience. Meeting global challenges requires global partnerships. The issues we are facing transcend the G7 and our borders. And this is why it is absolutely vital that we have diverse geographic representation around the table. So let's get started. Thank you. Merci.
Stay with it. Questions?
Hi, Minister Rafi Bujikanian, CBC. In September, you said that the Canadian government had started to receive some collaboration from India on the matter of the investigation into the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Can you tell us what results that collaboration has yielded so far?
Well, I want to start by saying that Canada is a country that respects and upholds the rule of law. And what that means is that persons in positions in the cabinet, in the legislative branch of government, do not play a role in the investigation and administration or pursuit from a judicial process of any case. That's what the rule of law means. And so what we are committing to and doing that with the government of India is that there is a law enforcement dialogue at the highest levels of our governments, including the head of the NSIA in Canada with Indian government law enforcement officials, and that dialogue is continuing and will continue. Furthermore, from a public safety standpoint, the Minister of Public Safety in our government designated the Bishnoi Group as a terrorist entity under the criminal code. Furthermore, we are ensuring that in the bilateral engagement with India, that these rule of law concerns, that these public safety concerns are foremost in the advancement of the relationship. So, for example, if you take a look at the joint statement that India and Canada signed just 4 weeks ago, you will see that the first page of that joint statement covers the very points that I'm making today: the importance of law enforcement, the respect for the rule of law, and the assurance that at all times public safety will be at the forefront of our bilateral dialogue.
And just as a follow-up, what do you hope to by opening a consulate in Greenland? What specific diplomatic gains are you looking for Canada?
Canada is an Arctic nation. 70% of our coastline, 40% of our landmass is interfacing with the Arctic. We have an Arctic foreign policy. The Arctic foreign policy contemplates greater engagement not just in Canada's north, but internationally as well. And so when we open a consulate in Greenland, we are expanding Canada's diplomatic footprint in another Arctic region. I've had numerous conversations with other foreign ministers of Arctic countries, and we all agree that now is the time to ensure that our collective will and footprint is placed in Arctic territory. Canada's recent budget, delivered just last week, put down $80 billion in defense spending. We are going to reach 2% this year and 5% of GDP by 2035. Much of that spending is going to involve dual-use infrastructure in the Canadian Arctic. Ports, roads, railways. But from a foreign minister's standpoint, my concern is not only on the implementation of those commitments, but also the broader work we can do internationally to ensure that we are collaborating and cooperating with other Arctic nations in support of global peace and security. That's the reason. Thank you.
Ahmed Hazim, Al Jazeera.
There's another reason
Question about
as well.
Dinner, the working dinner about global security and peace. Your remarks earlier said that you are going to discuss the long path forward toward peace, and I'm going to just be specific about the Gaza plan, peace plan. The move toward the second phase of that plan seems that it's very complicated rather than what as we expected before. And now the aid trucks coming into Gaza is not enough. The international force is not established yet. The discussions with the UN for the UN mandate for this is not going as smooth as we expect. What are you as a group at the G7, and what do you expect to listen from Secretary Roby in this dinner to push this thing forward?
Thank you for the question. And I appreciate the sentiment that you are raising, which is that we want a ceasefire to be long-lasting and to yield the benefits that are outlined in the peace plan. And Canada certainly welcomes the peace plan and President Trump's work to end the war in Gaza. It's crucial. We believe that Hamas must disarm and must have no role in the governance of Palestine. There must be this continued emphasis on a ceasefire and, as you say, the unhindered flow of humanitarian aid. And I will say that Canada has placed almost $400 million in humanitarian aid, much of it with international organizations, some of it remaining on trucks in areas like Jordan. We need that aid to flow. It is contemplated in the peace plan, and humanitarian aid must flow. Gaza must be demilitarized with no displacement of the Palestinian people. So Canada's initial and continued position is that the peace plan must be upheld, and parties around the world should continue to support it. And I've been in touch with many of my counterparts in the Arab countries to ensure that they know that Canada is here to support the implementation of the peace plan through humanitarian aid, through support with electoral reforms, through ensuring that we are offering expertise from a security standpoint. So the bottom line is Canada's continuing to work with international partners around the world to ensure that Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in peace and security. The return of hostages is ongoing and needs to continue, and I think we should remember that this is a process and wouldn't be accomplished in 1 week or even 1 month, but that we need to stay with it for the medium to long term as well.
My second question is about Sudan. Sudan is a very vulnerable place right now.
Okay, we're just going to leave it there. And we'll find out more about what happens at the dinner later on. And on talking about the reason for setting up a consulate in Greenland, but if you've been a regular viewer of this program, I think you might be able to read between the lines there just a little bit when you look at it through the lens of carving up the world into new spheres of dominance for each of the major powers. And you see how Donald Trump seems to be moving in that direction. You begin to understand why Canada would make a move like this after Trump has talked about taking over Greenland, annexing Canada, making it the 51st state, as he's making these aggressive moves down in Latin America, when he essentially reasserted U.S. dominance over Panama through a business deal, taking control of the Panama Canal with U.S. business interests. You see, Canada, in order to survive as a sovereign nation, needs to be able to defend its sovereignty, to defend itself. But when you're a smaller power, economically, we're not nearly as large as the United States. Powerful, a G7 country, but not nearly as large as the U.S. We don't have the military to defend Canada entirely on our own because we have such a vast area to defend. That's why Trump says the U.S. basically subsidizes us by defending Canada. That's not entirely true. There's a grain of truth in that. But what Canada has to do, what Canada has done, but what Canada really now realizes that it needs to do, the Canadian government, is take a multilateral approach to defense. Work with other countries. Work with Denmark, Greenland. Two countries with a common interest, which is to preserve their sovereignty in the face of an encroaching existential threat, perhaps even a friendly threat from an ally, the United States. And by working together, Canada can more effectively assert its sovereignty, and through collective, through cooperation on defense with Greenland, it makes it a lot easier to begin to defend the Arctic territory, and not only Greenland, but also with the United States, because of course the US has Alaska. So 3 countries working together to defend the Arctic, all helping each other. Of course, if you're greedy, you want to control everything, then I guess what you might do is levy heavy duty tariffs on your best friends and try to bring them to knee, to heel, so that you can dominate them, dictate what kind of government they have, or maybe even choose the government that they might put into place. Trump obviously at war with liberalism, which is also what's going on in Russia. It's painfully obvious to see what's happening, but this is the multilateral approach. This is what Canada is advocating for at the dinner tonight with these G7 foreign ministers, including Marco Rubio, but that is not the vision that Donald Trump has. Now, excuse me, will that change? It's possible because Trump was given a bit of a wake-up call in these last elections, I think, to some degree. Also was booed at that sporting event, whatever game that was that he went to this past week. So the tide has turned just a little bit, and the relationship between Trump and Putin has certainly soured a fair bit as well. So we'll find out what happens at that G7 dinner tonight. And while all that is going on and the UK withdrawing, see, this is the other thing. I keep hearing pro-Trump people, even Joseph, who comes on the program from time to time, says, America first doesn't mean America alone, but increasingly that is exactly what is happening to the United States because of Trump's policies. That's exactly how this decision by the UK to not supply intel to the United States to help them strike these boats, alleged drug boats out of Venezuela, is being portrayed by the political opposition in the U.S. But see, this is the narrative on the other side being spun up here. Take a look on Twitter, X, tonight. This is Libs of TikTok. And if you just take a look here, the way they spin it, the words they choose, UK announces that it will halt sharing information with the United States on drug smuggling operations in the Caribbean after US strikes on cartel boats. They don't want us to defend our nation from drug smuggling terrorists. The UK loves coddling criminals and terrorists. I don't think that's true. I think that is a narrative, that's a political spin. You scroll down one, call to activism. Holy SHIT, the UK, our closest ally. This is an account called Call to Activism. Our closest ally since World War I. What about Canada? Just cut off all, capital ALL, intelligence sharing with the US about Caribbean drug trafficking boats, calling the strikes illegal. Britain doesn't trust us anymore. Trump has torched a century of friendship while he sucks up to dictators. See, same story, two completely different perspectives. That is why these days you have such polarization in public opinion. That's why you can talk to two people about the same event, same news story, and they'll have a completely different perspective on it. That was the case. Well, it's just being the case, especially since the pandemic. All of that very amplified. It's always been there, that kind of bias, but never so pronounced as it is today. And this all spilling over into this new development over in Europe where drones are being spotted, especially over Belgium in recent days. Here, I'll show you right here. This was the first available footage of a very large drone over Belgium, which resulted in Belgian airspace being shut down. And it's big, whatever this thing is. Here we go. Let's take a look. There it is. Now, I don't think that's a UFO, like an alien thing. Whatever that is, though, that's big. That's like looks like a large plane. It's some sort of a drone, apparently. See the blinking lights like way off on the edges there too? I don't know if that's reflections or... I think that really it's just the lights in the center, and then you're getting reflection. But it does appear to be very large. Now, that has resulted in a pretty dramatic response, a unified response from NATO, so much so that UK is coming to the assistance of Belgium, Belgium, the Belgian forces. Let me just say here. Okay, so an RT, Russia responding with this. This is very interesting because you see, there's speculation, no proof that these drones that are appearing over European countries and have over the last few days, especially in Belgium, that they're from Russia. So here, the headline over in RT: Russians are the new Martians. A new kind of UFO craze is gripping Belgium. The last time Brussels was so twitchy about imaginary objects in the sky, it at least had the decency to blame aliens. This is an op-ed by Rachel Marsden, a columnist and political strategist. She says, looks like the aliens might be back to mess with Belgium again, and this time apparently they're Russian. ET called the motherland. Perhaps this is the extraterrestrials' version of Netflix. They sit around on the couch going, when does the next season of that show with those bumbling goofs in Europe trying to chase us come out? Maybe 35 years on Earth is like a month in alien time, because the sequel to the Belgian UFO wave of 1989-1990 appears to have just kicked off. But this time it's not a comedy or a mystery, but a drama. Well, for those in charge it is. For some of us, it's just the usual Euro bozo burlesque with a different backdrop. So you have two choices here again. You can either listen to the West and the Western countries and be concerned that there might be Russian or foreign or drones from foreign countries flying over these European areas, Belgium in particular, or you can listen to that narrative from the Russian side, which is to say, nothing to see here. It's not us. What little old us? We would never do that. You're all paranoid. It's a conspiracy theory, which makes me think it's probably Russia. Probably isn't. I shouldn't be laughing because it's very serious stuff. As a result, we have, where did my clips go? Right here, BBC. UK has agreed to help Belgium after suspected Russian drone incursions. We have a clip here. So NATO, UK, taking this threat very seriously. This is Sir Richard Knighton on BBC, confirming that Britain is providing military support to Belgium after this series of suspected Russian drone incursions into Belgian airspace. And he's the new chief of defense staff, in conversation with Laura Kuensberg, talking about how they are approaching this in a multilateral fashion.
I spoke to my Belgian opposite number in the week, and he asked if we would be prepared to support them, and the Defence Secretary and I agreed at the end of last week that we would deploy our people and our equipment to Belgium to help them. It is important to be clear, though, that we don't know, and the Belgians don't yet know, the source of those drones, but we will help them by providing our kit and capability, which has already started to deploy to help to Belgium.
So that's happening. But this is not Russia. It's not us. Information campaign has already kicked off over on the Russian side. Don't blame us. It's not us. It would never be us. Yeah, it might be. It probably is. But we don't know. We'll see. Let's take a little break. We'll come back. on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We also have video tonight of this Hangzhou Bridge in China. Unbelievable, the devastation here. Oh, in fact, we've got it posted over on our own Twitter channel. In fact, I might as well bring it up over there. On X. Let me bring it to you. This was a recently constructed bridge in China, newly opened. So here we are, just months after completion. You have this shift in the earth, and it brings the entire bridge down in dramatic fashion. And yet, miraculously, we're told nobody killed in this.
오호, 처음에 딜로.
So that, the fact that nobody was killed, that's a miracle. If they had had fatalities, I think it would be a much, much bigger story. Back to geopolitics and everything going on the war front over in Ukraine. We've seen Russian troops gaining more ground in Pokrovsk. Ukraine trying to hold on to that city. It's a key city. Let me, here we go here. We have video confirmed by NBC as being authentic. And as much as Russia seems to be making gains in this city, which is a strategically, tactically, its location makes it very valuable because it's a city that intersects with other key locations, and it's vital in terms of keeping supply lines open. Russian forces ride into key Ukrainian city through fog on battered vehicles, video shows. And this this video, I think, speaks volumes about the ferocity and the horrific nature, the devastating nature of this conflict. And you can see that Russia is not as resilient and as powerful as many would have us believe. Just take a look at the battered and worn and ragtag type vehicles that these Russian forces are rolling into town on. This is not what I would describe as an extremely well equipped military fighting force. So it says here, video verified by NBC News. That's why I'm showing you this video, because they've taken the time to make sure that it's not fake, it's not AI. verified by NBC, shows Russian troops on motorcycles and light vehicles entering the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, a key supply hub. These are the subtitles. And look at the vehicles. Motorcycles. I'm just going to back it up. Look at that car. It's a car, no doors on it. Removed probably intentionally. But this is what their military is using. Is that out of necessity, or is it because they're less likely to draw attention to themselves driving those things? I don't know. That is a Jeep. It's like a military style Jeep type vehicle. Jeep is a brand. So I don't know. Ukraine's still in there though, and trying to push back and keep their defensive lines entrenched. Where is Pokrovsk? I'll show you on a map. Here's Google Maps. It's right there where the red dot is, the red marker in Ukraine. As you can see, and we'll zoom in on it, go way back to give you a proper perspective. Okay, got it? All right, let's just zoom in. Keep going in. So this is the city. And so these troops, we're told, were coming in through the south. But Russia also claims they have troops in the east and west. And it's hard to know exactly what truth is, but I think that based on what has evolved over the past month, Russia is slowly taking control of this city. And that's what she looks like. Let's take a look. Welcome to Pokrovsk. Courtesy Google. All right. I'm going to be back right after this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, of course, we have to talk at least briefly about the ostriches tonight, because this manufactured story continues to have some traction out there. But now that the ostriches have been culled, now that they are gone and likely, buried under a mound of dirt in a landfill and garbage at this point, regardless of whatever conspiracy theories are being spun up or narratives, the birds are dead. So what's going on out there right now just proves what I've been saying for some time. The whole political protest out there has not been about the ostriches. Not really. It became basically an anti-government protest, an extension of previous anti-government protests, not pro-Canada, nothing to save Canada. It's taken me some time to gain a proper perspective on what's really going on. But what's been happening out there is very anti-Canada. That's why you saw the burning of the flag. That's why you've seen people saying, they have no faith left in the government. This whole thing, this whole exercise has been designed, choreographed in order to undermine all trust in the Canadian government, government institutions, police, the courts, food policy, everything, appealing speaking directly to, especially the most vulnerable and those most susceptible to anti-government rhetoric. Well, now that the ostriches are gone, what was the campaign was supposed to be about? And I'm editorializing here to a degree, but also backing it up with empirical evidence. What's this really been about? What have we been seeing? Well, it was supposed to be about save the ostriches, right? Well, that failed. So instead of going home, of course, now that the protesters have been given just about everything they could ever hope for in terms of ammunition for their continued assault on Canadian sovereignty and the existence of Canada as a country, the only thing they really didn't get was the actual bullets going into the birds. Video of that live streamed. Other than that, they got pretty much everything else, and they'll continue to use the images of the carcasses in the field and the misrepresented videos of the hay being spread and the laid on narratives over top of that to make people think sinister, dastardly things. Point is, this was about exactly what I said. This is just an anti-government thing. And to prove that, all you have to do is take a look at what's happened. Now that the cull is over, the political end of it, the protest has not ended. It's not going to end. It's never going to end. Not until they get what they want, which is the breakup of Canada. The people behind it. Now, some of the participants, unwitting, don't really realize that they're helping to destroy Canada. That is largely what this is about. I'll prove it. Here's our good friend Jim Kerr, who I think I may have misjudged. Maybe he'll redeem himself in my eyes with something that comes out very positive, pro-Canadian, but no, he just wants you to believe that your government hates you and probably wants you dead.
Because it's literally a life and death thing, as you guys have witnessed just here recently at the ostrich farm. And if any of y'all think that the government's just playing nice now, you're fucked in the head. It's pretty clear. The government hates you.
That's all I got to hear. I've been waiting for that again. There it is. Your government hates you. That's what they want. That's what they want you to think. That's the way that they're portraying this. And yet, Yeah, the government does some stupid things, and yeah, there's some corruption in there, but is it black and white? And who's been funding all of this? Be careful. That's my message. I'm not here to defend all the actions of the CFIA. They've done some really stupid things over the years. Yeah, and they have a lot of power, and I don't agree with a lot of CFIA policy, but I do love my country. And as much as we have problems, they're ours to fix, not some foreign government. It's not up to Donald Trump to fix our problems by annexing Canada and making us the 51st state, because they have their own damn problems. And I really begin to wonder about the patriotism, about people who call themselves pro-Canada or wrap themselves in a facsimile of the Canadian flag, even through rhetoric like, what's this guy's name? Self-proclaimed to be Captain Canuck.
Captain Canuck here. I fucking had it with this fucking country, man.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. He's so pro-Canadian that he rips the shit out of his own country on social media. He's Captain Canuck. You see how it's like this psyop? It's reverse psychology. It disarms you. Well, if he's Captain Canuck, he must be very much in favor of Canada, and I'm a Canadian, so I guess this is a good Canadian guy, and he only wants what's best for the country, and he's pissed off with Canada.
Hello, fucked up Canada.
His first words. If you're that upset with the country, why would you call yourself Captain Canuck? Wouldn't you call I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And that's the whole point. That is the whole point.
Captain Canuck here. I fucking had it with this fucking country, man. We need to stand up very strongly. I want to first start off with the universal officer form.
Of course you do. I'm not surprised.
This has nothing to do, well, it does, the RCMP and the CIFA should have...
It's the FIA.
Stayed the fuck out. Number one, this has to do with the WHO. When we signed on to the Paris Agreement and George Soros and all those motherfuckers from the UN, we signed on to them. So
the world, he's fucked in the head. He doesn't know the fuck he's talking about. He's just regurgitating a narrative, talking points. This is all about the WHO and the Paris Agreement. Two different organizations, dude. The World Health Organization deals with health issues. The Paris Climate Accord was here, I'll show you. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But you can take your political advice from that guy if you want. I'm just saying. Captain Canuck there. Let me explain. I'll show you. I'm not just going to say it so you don't think it's just me. I'm going to read it off Google, okay? You should go Google this, Captain. The Paris Climate Agreement is a legally binding international treaty adopted by nearly 200 countries in 2015 to combat climate change by limiting global warming to well below 2% Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It works in a 5-year cycle, blah, blah, blah. It was part of the UN Climate Change Conference and COP21. Here it is here. You know what? I just came across this. Let's run this. And this might help Captain Canuck and some others understand. I don't know. Haven't watched this, but it's a UN video. What is Trump didn't like it. I actually had expressed concerns about it as well over the years. But it's not a WHO thing, man. It's a UN thing. Just saying. I don't know if do I dare run any more of Captain Canuck, or will I make you all stupider for having watched him? I suspect the latter.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Look, I'm just telling you, these people, a lot of these people are just helping certain other people from another country nearby to break this country up. That's what they're doing. Once you understand that, everything becomes a whole lot simpler and clearer. And the way they're doing it is by getting you to hate your own country so that you rise up, so that you do their dirty work for them, so that you get out into the streets and fight, destabilize the hell out of everything. And they don't care how they do it. They'll get the LGBTQ people out there, and then they'll get the white Christian nationalists out there, and then they'll get these guys out, and they get everybody out in the streets using social media to fight and destabilize everything. And they get you upset because the Canadian government has a cull policy in place, the stamping out policy to deal with avian flu outbreaks, which is the same policy they have in the United States, by the way, but they'll tell you that the United States is better, and RFK Jr. has to get involved, and they might have to have an international investigation into what's going on in Canada now. What's going on up there in Kazakhstan? Let's get that billionaire from New York to have a news conference and talk all about that, and get Katie Pasitny on there crying again. That will justify us going into Canada and intervening and conducting our own investigation to seek international justice. Wait a minute. Aren't we worried about foreign interference in Canadian government? Don't we want to get away from giving up our sovereignty to other countries through organizations like the World Health Organization and the United Nations? And yet you're all calling for another country to come to Canada to help us, to not help us, but I guess to help us to get rid of our government and to get rid of our sovereignty so that they can conduct a investigation into our country, another country. Wait a minute. It's all getting really confusing, isn't it? Until you just simplify it and realize what the hell is really going on out there. Oil. Money. Weapons. Sovereignty. Who's a real country? I'll tell you this. The United States, the Trump administration has told those people in Alberta that they are ready to recognize Alberta as a sovereign nation if they separate. That is a freaking joke. It's a lie. Because if you read the work of Alexander Dugin and you look at the philosophy and the approach to and the way they view sovereignty, which is what people like Bannon, who is one of Trump's main advisors even today, the way they look at these things is in their view, you can't be a real country unless you have access to the sea. If you're landlocked like Alberta is, you don't count because you can't get your resources to market. They're telling the people of Alberta this, knowing full well that if Alberta separates from the rest of Canada, they got you. They got you by the short and curlies in a way that They'll never get a hold of Venezuela. Because you ain't fighting back. You're like, come in and take us over. Oh, gullible. Some people are. Me too. Too trusting I have been. But maybe not all NATO countries as people pivot away from Trump. Cracks in NATO showing, and I have to wonder too, how loudly is Putin laughing when he watches all of this stuff unfold, as he watches NATO break apart and is he using divide and conquer tactics to isolate America? Leave it vulnerable, sitting alone without a friend in the world? Now that Trump has gone to war with all of America's traditional allies. CBS News, as NATO allies accuse Russia of hybrid warfare, U.S. joins war games in Sweden focused on disrupting sabotage. Maybe Trump is pivoting back. Who knows? We know that Trump is getting frustrated because Putin has not done anything. He's not really, he's making it clear he hasn't been serious about peace in Ukraine. Trump's getting frustrated. The relationship is souring. This story is saying a rising number of mysterious drone sightings near airports and military bases has fueled concern in Europe over alleged Russian incursions into NATO airspace, with some of America's allies already saying the continent is a gray zone between peace and war, accusing Moscow of escalating hybrid warfare. Such is the case even in Canada. And you see these streamers even today referring to what's been going on out of the ostrich farm as a war. Part of a war. The narrative has been that the cull marks the end of Canada, the fall of Canada, all of this rhetoric. I thought it was about saving the ostriches, but it has now turned into a war on Canada itself, and certainly the government, but yeah, the entire country itself. Where is the United States really going to end up on this stuff? It's zany. That's what makes watching the G7 meeting tonight that much more important. Stay with me. I'm going to come back on the other side. We've got more.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media publishing simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, I'm keeping an eye on what's going on there in Niagara with the G7 foreign ministers meeting. I don't know if we will actually be able to get any video out of the meeting. It's probably closed. You'll get the standard scrums, news conferences following the meeting with the media, and we'll learn more at that point. I don't know what time all that's going to take place. More likely near the end of this thing, we'll maybe have a little bit of an update, but we'll dig into it more tomorrow because it is an ongoing thing that's going to stretch into tomorrow anyway. Now, all of that being said, I do want to bring you this rebuttal from the on the ostrich farm stuff from this gentleman. I don't even know who this guy is, but I can say that, you know, his Here we go. What he says here is, I would say, largely accurate if I can get some audio up. There we go. Okay. I had to cue it. It's a TikTok video. Just stumbled upon it. Let's listen to this guy. Who is it? It's not sure who he is. It's a Salich Warrior 2.0. Anyway, he's focused on the ostrich issue, not on destroying the country. But anyway, just listen.
And this really should bother you because a lot of the media sources were not reporting on the actual court documents, and they were just reporting on what Katie, Dave, and Karen were saying. And what Katie, Dave, and Karen were saying were absolute lies, and what the court documents state are factual. And the factual evidence shows that the only ones in neglect, and the only reason why this all happened and went down the way it did, was because of Universal Ostrich Farm. As I've stated, I've dealt with this. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency does not just walk onto your property and take over and take things. They do not do this. You have to break certain codes of conduct and protocols for this to happen. Universal Ostrich Farm broke every single biosecurity and quarantine protocol that was placed on them when they had an avian flu outbreak. And what a lot of people don't see is that 70 birds died on that farm, 71 in total. Died on that farm. 69 of them died before you even ever heard anything about it. See, the issue is these folks had an avian flu outbreak on the farm. They had ostriches dying and they did nothing about it. They covered them with tarps and left them out in the open with all the other ostriches in one giant pen because they let their ostriches run free. And that's something no poultry farm does. Like, yes, we free range, but not the way they were free ranging. They also had no shelter for their birds. 3 of their birds died simply because they slipped on ice. And they slipped on ice and they injured their feet and their legs. And these birds could no longer walk. And they just laid on the ground until they died.
Yep.
But here's the fact of the matter. Before the Canadian Food Inspection Agency even showed up to the front fucking door, 69 birds died. Yep. They were only able to test 2 young birds because the other 67 birds were so decomposed, rotted, and eaten by local wildlife scavenged on that they were unable to take samples from. Now, the farm focuses on the fact of PCR tests, but PCR tests weren't actually the only thing done. They did an entire genome workup on these guys in Manitoba, and that's where they found that they 100% tested for H5N1. Then the Canadian Food Inspection Agency stepped in, and they gave the farm every opportunity to do what was right, to register the deaths daily, and send that to the Canadian Food Inspection, to quarantine the sick birds from the healthy birds, etc. Universal Ostrich Farm did none of this. Absolutely none of this. And that's why they're at where they are today, and the ostriches are dead.
He's right. Everything he said is accurate. Everything. Every bit of it. Because I have reported the same things. And it's all documented. It's all in the court documents. Confirmed. Right down to those birds, the ones that died, just the ones from the avian flu outbreak. He's not even talking about the prior round of deaths involving Pseudomonas infection. Those birds were left to rot under tarps, found there when the CFIA finally showed up. And yes, this is what I said last night too. Those ostriches, nothing really unique about them in terms of the kind of birds they were. They came from Africa, native to areas with very moderate climates to tropical climates. native to areas where it never gets to be cold the way that it gets cold in BC, in that area of British Columbia. And it gets darn cold up there in that mountainous area. What, minus 30, minus 35 in the dead of winter? Tons of snow at times, tons and tons of snow. And these birds left outside year round, not built for Canadian winters, not native to Canada. Those birds brought to Canada from Africa. And then I said, some people say, Rick, you're so inhumane. Don't you care? Don't you care about the birds? Yeah, I care about the birds. Those birds were abused from day one being brought to that farm. And yeah, it's all documented as well about the birds slipping on the ice, getting caught in fencing. Before any of this ever happened, birds unable to walk and just left in the field to die. They didn't protect the birds properly. That's all documented. It's all in the court documents. But who the hell takes the time to read the court documents when it's just a lot easier to get caught up in a narrative fueled by emotion saying, save the ostriches, save the ostriches. Yeah, save them for what? If they were alive today, if the Save Our Ostriches campaign had been successful, those birds would have been condemned to an ongoing life as biolab animals for experimentation. Frankenbirds, already having been injected repeatedly with COVID antigens for years. But if all you're really interested in is screwing over Canada and getting people angry by using fear, uncertainty, and doubt through a very carefully crafted narrative that portrays every aspect of Canada as evil, then I guess you just don't give a damn. Which is why some people, even within my little circle of friends, some people just don't want to hear it.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Of course, the really great thing about living today is that we have a president of peace, which is why Venezuela has announced, let me see if I can get rid of this big giant advertisement over this thing. Oh my gosh, giant ad. Anyway, this is why Venezuela has launched a massive mobilization tonight of military personnel, weapons, and equipment. It's a response to the buildup of U.S. warships and troops in the Caribbean Sea because, peace through strength. Do as we say or we'll blow your whole country out of the water, not just your boats. Land, air, naval reserve forces are carrying out exercises through Wednesday, according to Venezuela's defense minister described the deployment as a response to, quote, the imperialist threat posed by the U.S. build-up. We have video to go with this, released by the Venezuelan military. Tonight, Venezuelan army released this video of these exercises using a 106 millimeter M40A1 recoilless rifle. A bunch of them, I guess. So this rifle and anti-tank troops will not give the enemies of the homeland an inch of their territory, we're told. And this is the video in question. A message to the President of Peace.
Adiestramiento y cohesión, hoy acompañando al comandante La Sodi Miranda del Fuerte Guayquepuro en ejercicio militar.
Sábado de milicia, la perfecta fusión popular, militar y policial. Unidades milicianas de combate, adiestrándonos y preparándonos. Nuestro comandante en jefe nos ha dado la orden a mayor presión, a mayor agresión, mayor preparación. Fuerza Armada, pueblo y organismos de seguridad ciudadana desplegados y preparándonos.
¡Enemigo al frente! ¡Distancia! 1200 metros para un tiro de referencia. ¡A posicionar!
Interesting how the today's wars are fought as much online with videos like that as they are on the battlefield using kinetic weapons. In other news, government shutdown. Did you watch Jon Stewart? I think it was last night. I caught a clip of him online talking about the government shutdown. Very disappointed in Democrats he is for having caved and approved the deal to end the shutdown. Supreme Court delays decision on SNAP as lawmakers near shutdown vote. This is on Politico. What are they saying here? The Supreme Court extended through Thursday its order to allowing the Trump administration to withhold full food stamp benefits as lawmakers inch closer to ending the record-setting government shutdown. The move comes after the administration raced to the high court for relief from a lower court order that would have required the Agriculture Department to pay for the entirety of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program instead of just the partial November benefits. Officials are in the process of doling out. On Monday, Justice Department attorneys renewed the request for an administrative stay. So that on the U.S. side, that's a big deal for a lot of people. Program serves nearly 42 million Americans, ran out of funding November 1st, causing food banks and pantries to struggle to keep up with increased need. And then you have to wonder, who's to blame? And just like we've been illustrating here all through the night, it depends on who you listen to and which narrative you pick. Trump on the weekend, on the, who was it he was talking to? I think it was on the weekend. And he just came out and said, oh, yeah, it's all the Democrats' fault. Of course, that's what he's going to say. Is he blameless in this? Probably not. Saving a lot of tax dollars by keeping everything shut down. Now, pivoting over here, I've got something a little bit different to share with you tonight. I have a story that's going to be related to this out of MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology article talking about understanding the nuances of human-like intelligence. These wars are largely being fought these days, and this realignment geopolitically and what's going on in Canada, all this stuff, a lot of it comes down to AI because it's also related to energy. You can't have AI facilities without massive amounts of energy being pumped into these research and production facilities for artificial intelligence. Massive, huge energy sponges they are. That's why they're going to be building, even in some cases, their own power plants to go with these AI data centers as they're developed. And Alberta is one of the places where they're looking at doing that because, of course, that's an energy hub, right? A source for natural energy, oil, and they're going to build nuclear out there too. So here's this MIT article talking about understanding the nuances of human-like intelligence. Associate Professor Philip Isola studies the ways in which intelligent machines think in an effort to safely integrate AI into human society. These kinds of articles, they're out there every day. This kind of work is ongoing. It's accelerating at an exponential rate. Article here, MIT. What can we learn about human intelligence by studying how machines think? Can we better understand ourselves if we better understand the artificial intelligence systems that are becoming a more significant part of our everyday lives? This is exciting stuff, but it's also scary stuff. It raises a lot of ethical questions. These questions, it says, may be deeply philosophical, but for Philip Isola, finding the answers is as much about computation as it is about cogitation. Isola, the newly tenured associate professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, EECS, studies the fundamental mechanisms involved in human-like intelligence from a computational perspective. He's thinking about human brains like a computer, digitized human brains. While understanding intelligence is the overarching goal, his work focuses mainly on computer vision and machine learning. Isola is particularly interested in exploring how intelligence emerges in AI models, how these models learn to represent the world around them, and what their brains share with the brains of their human creators. Quote, I see all the different kinds of intelligence as having a lot of commonalities, and I'd like to understand those commonalities. What is it that all animals, humans, and AIs have in common? Says Isola, who is also a member of the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL. To Isola, a better scientific understanding of the intelligence that AI agents possess will help the world integrate them safely and effectively into society, maximizing their potential to benefit humanity. And I will add to that myself and say, not only does he want to integrate this technology into society, I think that what we are seeing here is the integration of machines into man and man into machines. And that's really at the heart of what we're talking about in this article. Asking questions. Isola began pondering scientific questions at a young age, and they talk about this guy. A computational perspective. At MIT, Isola's research drifted toward computer science and artificial intelligence. Quote, I still loved all those questions from cognitive sciences, but I felt I could make more progress on some of those questions if I came at it from a purely computational perspective. Oh yes, get jacked in, immerse yourself in the matrix now. Neuralink, here we come. Studying human-like intelligence, running a research lab instantly appealed to him. Quote, I really love the early stage of an idea. I feel like I am sort of a startup incubator where I am constantly able to do new things and learn new things, he says. Language, images, sound, all of these are different shadows on the wall from which you can infer that there is some kind of underlying physical process, some kind of causal reality out there. If you train models on these different types of data, they should converge on that world model in the end, Isola says. Convergence. If you can come up with a good representation of the world, that should make subsequent problem solving easier. In a sense, we always work in the dark. It is high risk and high reward work. Every once in a while, we find some kernel of truth that is new and surprising, he says. human ingenuity, creativity, and emotions. Many people believe these can never be modeled. That might turn out to be true, but I think intelligence is fairly simple once we understand it, he says. In the end, here's the last quote. I don't think AIs will just do everything for us and we'll go and enjoy life at the beach. I think there's going to be this coexistence between smart machines and humans who still have a lot of agency and control. Now I'm thinking about the interesting questions and applications once that happens. How can I help the world in this post-AGI, that's artificial general intelligence future? I don't have any answers yet, but it's on my mind, he says. Yes, it's on his mind. What's on your mind? In his future, will you still have a mind? Or will you have a hybrid mind? A hive mind? Will you still have agency? Will you still have self-determination? Will you still be you? Will I still be me? If inevitably we choose to connect to the matrix. I came across this just by accident the other day, and this is very much related. If my computer will cooperate, I will show this to you. Here we go. I was on Twitch, just doing a little housekeeping on our channel, and I was looking at some videos that were popping up. And this came up the other day. I was going to show it to you the other day, but we got sidetracked by the ostriches. And this showed me how incredible human beings just how incredible human beings are as biological life forms. How we are special. We can achieve incredible things, do incredible things, go far beyond what we even expect. Or if you apply yourself as a human, you can achieve almost anything naturally. And yet there is this convergence happening. And I see it happening, in a progressive way. I see people, with their phones, and they're like this all the time, their head down now. So there's that. And then I think back to when I was a kid, when the first video games came out. That's how old I am. Pong, right? And I had, when I was a kid, a Telstar video game, which had, the Pong game with the dot for the ball and the two paddles. Like there was that, and then you could play doubles, and there was a racing game that they came out with after. And it's just progressed since there. And now video games have just reached these mind-blowing levels of realism. And Twitch, there's tons of videos of people just playing video games, and they're mesmerizing. They're hypnotic when you sit and watch them. And this video came up of this guy playing, I don't know what game it is. Is it Guitar Hero or something? I guess so. And I thought about real guitar players, because I play a little bit of guitar, and I was watching this guy, and I thought of Eddie Van Halen and Steve Vai and, some others who are masters of tapping, right? And how fast they are, and how somebody like Eddie Van Halen changed the way some people approach playing guitar. Creative artists, groundbreakers, and doing incredible things. You can't see their fingers move. And then I saw this guy. I guess it's guitar. I don't play these video games because I'm just so old. right? But this guy is amazing. This is like Olympic level Guitar Hero stuff. He's got this channel. A lot of people were watching it, and he's not. I wouldn't say he's certainly not a household name, but I'm watching this guy and I'm thinking Eddie Van Halen has nothing on this guy, and yet he's also like he's already sucked down into the matrix, even though he's not completely jacked in. He's connected with this little plastic guitar thing. Watch this guy. It's freaky deaky.
Oh my God, still got it. And twin tilt, yeah, basically. That was insane. Herman Tittle won the transition.
How do you do that? Holy crap.
What's up, Bob? I play on note speed 19, and I went like 130. Well, one time. Well, that was terrible. Almost slipping. All right, but that's through the Fire and Flames double speed. Whenever somebody mentions Flames on front page, I gotta play. Gotta show off real quick. I missed 81 notes. I got 97%. It's not too bad.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking good.
But yeah, it's tough.
97%.
The song is still, it's ridiculous.
I wonder what he gets.
What's up, Doom? Hey, welcome
on
in,
his
bro.
geography test at school.
It's always so cool seeing
Probably
all the new people coming into the stream. What's up,
Probably not
Yeah, good to
doing
see you,
well
man.
at school.
What's up? There's so many new people coming in. It's awesome. Here, I'll play another classic at double speed from GH3.
Is this guy in the Matrix already or what?
At all. Oh, Move Garcia. Actually, that sounds pretty fun right now. I did, Josh. It's working so much better. Took me ages to do this. I'd say this morning.
Now, see, with Neuralink, you can get a chip implanted. You can play this game via Bluetooth. You wouldn't need the guitar. You just do it in your head.
Too slow. Yeah, I did it on stream earlier.
And then you could play one of Elon Musk's chimpanzees in a competition. Is this freaking amazing? Look at this. This guy's incredible. Maybe I'm just old. I haven't been paying attention. Is this common? This guy seems pretty uncommon. He's got talent. This is a talent. He's been practicing.
Not too bad. This is where it starts to get crazy. Well, it already has gotten crazy.
Look at the concentration.
Not too bad, everyone.
Are we being...
I've gotten really close to an FC on that before. Already. Minus 16 notes, though. That's not bad.
98%.
Take that, 98%.
Carney Jarrett.
When are we doing the 1v1 against Josh? I don't know.
Tom Morello, guitar bottom.
I don't know. So, one day. So, sometime we'll do it.
Why do I feel like human beings are being
200. Let's play this.
conditioned for something? Unfreaking believable. He just keeps
Just
going.
look it up, technique, Tom. You'll see why I got automated. Is it Dorito? Because I haven't tried it yet. I have regular GH3.
It just doesn't stop.
Damn. Idea for versus game. You aren't allowed to pick songs that you grinded on stream. That's a pretty cool idea, actually. I like that. Pretty cool. Run BYOB 200. I'm sorry, I don't really know the chart, bro. I'd play it if I knew it.
98% again. Unfreaking believable. Am I just easily impressed, or was that impressive? Look in the Kron says it's really not that amazing. Playing a real instrument is talent. I don't know. I don't know. Norvis says that is not talent. Good grief. Isn't it? Can you do that? Why isn't that talent? What is it? If it's not talent, what is it? It spends a lot of time sitting in front of that screen. I don't know if it's terribly productive time spent. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's raising questions for me, is the point. I can't beat Tom Morello at 80%, says Ian. Exactly conditioned. Yeah, well, yeah. But see, when I was a kid, and I'm sure you guys played video games too, I would spend hours and hours playing video games, or I'd be down at the arcade dumping tons of quarters into video game machines, trying to get to the next level. It's gamification. It's a reward for every level you reach, right? And they give you little rewards. You get an extra life if you do this, and that's the way it works. So they're throwing you little hero biscuits if you are a good boy or girl and you do as you are conditioned to do. Anyway, I thought that was just crazy. The speed, the accuracy, it's just unbelievable. Takes a lot of practice. Anyway, I'm just, the question for me is, do you think that guy is really already down into the matrix? Is he already taken a step toward what some people would say is transhumanism, immersed into the internet, where I think a lot of people are already on that path, especially people who are trying to resist it, because a lot of folks who are against a new digital reality are among the first who are already there, spending the bulk of their time online in an unreal reality, a manufactured digital synthetic reality, consuming an ongoing, never-ending reality program, especially through events, manufactured events like the ostrich farm story, which has divided people a lot. And that's sad, because there's been so much fighting among people. But I will say this, I had some kind words from Maureen today, who said that she's not going to let the ostrich farm story get her down, and she's not going to let a difference of opinion on the ostrich story get in the way of friendships or her friendship with me. And I greatly appreciate that. And then she said it was a sunny day today, which it was, and she was just going to let the sun shine in. And I responded and I said, well then, at the end of tonight's program, I'm going to play that song by Maverick and the News Brothers to close the program off and dedicate it to you. And that's exactly what I'm doing here tonight. So this one's for you, Maureen. But it's a message that really goes out to all you Mavericks out there. Let the sun shine in. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.